So if you weren't familiar with, this is a fairly large scale executive order 14117 that was signed by President Biden a little over a year ago. The big summary of this is this executive order is really intended to deal with national security issues. And the quick summary therefore is to prohibit and restrict certain bulk sensitive, including healthcare, personal data transactions with specific countries of concern. Those countries of concern, I don't think it goes without saying, China, including Hong Kong and Macau, Cuba, Iran, North Korea, Russia, and Venezuela. Those are the countries of concern. Now, a lot of us aren't doing that business anyway, but there's even more heightened nervousness, particularly with the sharing of this data across borders. The executive oversight for this executive order is the Department of Justice. I want to state that this has continued unabated with the transition of administrations. They have done finished up the rulemaking under the Trump administration and so forth. So what will happen as far as the enforcement dates as we get closer to that, all of us will wait to be seen. But right now, it seems it's moving forward unabated. A couple of things that came out of the DOJ actions and the rulemaking. Covered persons, they identified, what are we talking about here? If you as an individual or your group is working directly or indirectly with one of those countries of concern, and that is defined as having 50% or plus interest, being an employee or contractor, being a resident, or any person deemed by the DOJ as an entity that is considered associate with the countries of concern. So these are who they are focusing in on and the actions being done by these covered persons. There's two types of covered data: US sensitive, which means that's where the bulk of like our healthcare and financial and all those types of things are concerned. The other thing is anything that is associated with the US government and the data that is produced by the US government. So think for a minute, in the US, we have social security numbers, we have passports, think government related data that way. Now, there are 6 categories of data and thresholds. And the first one, humanomic, right, I guess is the term officially used now. That was new to me, but everything that genome space, if you will. And what you'll see here is the thresholds are rather low. They're not very high. So if you're talking about transferring data of 1,000 people, that could be very easily, right, someone in a mid-size, business. And if you're in some way sharing that, particularly I'm thinking of China and a lot of joint ventures that are done there, the sharing of that information of those individuals, 1,000 or more, is an issue. Biometric, 1,000 or more. Precise location, again, we see that coming up more and more. 1,000 or more devices in this situation. Personal health, 10,000 or plus. Financial, a little higher, 100,000. And then any impersonal identifiers, 100,000 persons. So again, what this was primarily focused in on was to develop, there was a concern by the Biden administration at the time that AI capabilities and the use of these large data sets in ways that could be detrimental to the US national security. So whether it's a blackmail, espionage, anything like that, if they can take and use that in a way to hold someone in a blackmail situation, we'll take that one. That's becoming an area of focus under Executive Order 14117. The most of these 6 categories of data and the thresholds, the enforcement period is just a couple of weeks away in April, where the bulk or the full breadth of the order won't be until October of 2025. So again, this is moving forward unless we hear differently in the coming weeks.